New dance craze.
Hello, and welcome to New Dance Craze on Soho Radio. I'm Jocelyn Campbell. Opening the show this month was the track Springs Eternal by the composer and recording artist Ruby Colley from her 2022 album Overheard. And I'm delighted to say that Ruby is joining me now for a conversation about her music. Ruby, hi.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for joining us. It's great to have you on the show. I wanted to open with that track in particular and start our conversation sort of where I discovered you and your music. Me and my partner were in Hastings, and on a whim, we stumbled across a little arts cafe one evening and saw there was some live music announced. We decided to chance it, not knowing anyone on the lineup, and then you appeared on stage with your violin and a laptop, playing these beautiful pieces for yourself as a soloist, alongside various arranged recorded sounds and electronic FX and processing. And I remember being mesmerized for the whole of your set. I suppose the first question I have about your work is how do you balance all of these elements and processes and strands between being a composer, a violinist, a producer, an improviser, etc.?
I don't balance it very well at all. It's a short answer to that. I think it's an ever a kind of oscillating dynamic. I think sometimes I give more time to being an instrumentalist, and then sometimes I give more time to being a composer. I guess these days I'm deliberately leaning into composition more than the performance side of things. But I think that the set that you saw was probably where I was balancing it the best, and I think generally my kind of thought process is always trying to find a synergy between those elements of fan sound, performance, and composition, and improvisation more than anything else as well.
Yeah, and I suppose what is it that's now bringing you more towards the composition pathway, as you said, and finding a new balance perhaps with more of that on the cards and maybe less of the recorded and performance aspects?
I think an element of freedom that can come with it. When I'm performing my own work, it's challenging really to have multiple hats at the same time, trying to direct your own work whilst playing, whilst being a performer, and the performance mindset that you have to get into in order to do that. It's a lot to juggle, but also there's a freedom in handing something over to other people and working with other people to perform your work, and it automatically gets me into a different creative space when I'm thinking through that lens. So I just want to do more of that, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very different. I suppose that one of the things that drew me to your music was the fact that I can see a lot of parallel processes between our work in that respect. That we both seem to have practices as kind of composer, performers, and crossover artists, and at various points, I'm sure we've been both aligned and kind of misaligned with different elements of our practices. But I know exactly what you mean about the thing of sometimes all I want to do once I've finished a piece of music is sit in the audience and hear it like everyone else, and not have that kind of that burden of having to press the buttons or play the instruments. Or I mean, I think you have a much more advanced and technical practice as a instrumentalist than I do. I've ceased to play any instruments to a kind of performance standards, but I have kind of live electronic stuff, and and perhaps I think maybe whilst you've been drifting more towards the concert hall and pure composition, I've found myself doing sort of more and more ambient sets and working with sort of tape loops and samples. So it's always changing, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think it's essential to keep the brain fresh and to visit ideas through different doors. I think I was also just getting really frustrated with the limitations of my playing, actually, if I'm being completely honest. Because I was just coming up with the same stuff all the time eventually, and I was getting annoyed with myself about that. And as soon as I started to write for other instruments or other people, that immediately opened up a whole new world of ideas, basically.
Do you find that when you're, I suppose, in theory, writing for other instruments and not immediately playing back or having the feedback of playing your ideas back immediately, you find yourself exploring different harmonic lenses, different textural lenses, exploring different sounds?
Absolutely, yeah. And that's really exciting. And I'm sure we'll talk about it later as well, but with Hello Halo, in the first instance, the way I composed that was just to sing everything, and that was so liberating as a process.
Yeah. Well, I suppose maybe going back, we definitely will cover that later. Hello Halo's a wonderful piece that I've had the pleasure of seeing live and listened to a lot on record. And you sent me the score the other day, and I've sort of now seen how the sausage is made, which is great. It's a wonderful looking piece of music as well as a wonderful sounding piece of music, and we'll come to that. But I suppose maybe reluctantly against your will, since it's an area you're leaving, we could step back into where your music as a kind of violinist, recording artist, performer comes from. How does it come out of you? Where does it start?
I mean, I guess, you know, when I was training as a child, I initially learnt through Suzuki method, which was all through ear. And so I wasn't particularly married to the page, as it were. And until I got to, you know, the Royal Academy. And I think by that time the die was cast, in the sense that I was very reluctant to be tied down, much to the frustration of my teachers. So I think, you know, that just set me on a road of just wanting to explore beyond, you know, what I was being told to do. Maybe I was just stubborn, you know, demand avoidance. But and so when I was doing my undergrad, it just felt like a really natural progression to explore how to write and express what I had in my head, basically. You know, it was always a kind of a need to do that, and there was a sound that wasn't being expressed, so it was that, you know, motivation to find it. And I think that's probably a very common feeling with composers, you know.
Yeah, you've got to, as a composer, you have to find a way to express the something that's in your head, whether it's through your fingers or through your, well, I guess some way it's going to be channeled through your fingers, whether you're writing it into a manuscript pad with a pen and pencil, or whether it's coming out of you in some sort of performance practice, but you're inventing the music as you hear it. You have to have some kind of apparatus for translating it from this raw idea into the world of sound.
Yeah, and, you know, the violin was the thing that I immediately had to hand, literally. And so that's how I started doing that. And I think even in my early career, you know, with Murmurations, for example, that was all through the limitations of my circumstances at the time as well. You know, I was living alone, and I wasn't very connected back then. And so I got a loop station for Christmas. You know?
Wow.
And so that was literally how I wrote that album. You know, so, and I made a point of recording it in the same way I perform it solo. So I wasn't needing to rely on anyone else. So that was very much a kind of a solo, isolated project. But it got me into a place where I understood what I wanted to do as a composer, basically.
Yeah. I think that actually that is something that I've found that a lot of other composers actually sort of in some ways are kind of can feel quite jealous of, if they haven't necessarily had the opportunity to develop a method of creating sort of holistic music by themselves. The curse of the composer, as it is, as it were, is that you can think of the notes, you can write them down, you can create the piece, and then you have to like engineer the scenario for 10 people to get together and play this thing that you've written, and that can be really time consuming. And I've had pieces which I've written and then haven't been played for a year or two, and by the time it gets to playing them, you haven't forgotten the music, but you're not in the music like you were when you were writing it. And I think having like a DAW process, or a kind of an interlinked performance practice, or even just, like you say, a loop station or something which can create entire holistic finished music sort of as you make it, can be so liberating and so instrumental for certain composers' developments.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, I really needed that immediacy, that immediate feedback in order to really cut my teeth, you know, thematically, you know, texturally, all of those things. And I completely understand and relate to this almost frustration in having that degree of separation through time, through access, all of that, which can be challenging to fully kind of connect to the initial spark of the idea, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think these sparks of the idea are so apparent in murmurations and in overheard. It feels like you're hearing something. It's like you're hearing something being sculpted, or the tracks are a reflection of the sculpting of the sound. It's like you can hear the initial kernel of the idea, the thing that gave you the spark, and then all of these layers being built up either through loops, overdubbing, found sounds, how they interact with field recordings and such like.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so cool that you got that. And I think it was, very much that. And I think even as I move away from performing as much, I think I still want to find a way to maintain that immediacy, because I think that's where the authenticity comes in. And without that, I worry that there's a risk for it to become overly cerebral and disconnected.
Yes, not sufficiently embodied or felt.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's going to be a constant balancing act, isn't it? There's always going to be that kind of spark of ingenuity, performance, improvisation in your work that's so formative that even if you are, writing for the LSO and you're not playing in it, it'll still be there. Like,
yeah, that's my hope. And I think, I think that's the thing, that's the challenge, isn't it? It's like, how do I write this? Yeah.
And I guess one of the things that I'm quite drawn to in this sort of this style of your output is the way that it marries with seeming kind of found sounds and field recordings. How important is the sort of tactility of real world sounds and the marriage between musical sounds and real world sounds in your music, and how to sort of get these things to speak to each other?
I would say it's the center of all of that. It's hugely important, and to the point that I deliberately chose not to manipulate or process those found sounds too much. That was a production choice on my half. So a sense of place is important to set the scene within any kind of work that I write, and to use that as a launch pad for texture, narrative, themes, melody, all of it, and to have that initial kind of spark, as it were, is still very present within the piece.
Great. I think this brings us quite nicely to a track from Overheard that I really responded to, is Sacred Ground, which I believe has recordings from. Is it from a? It's of water falling from a church.
Yeah, so that whole piece was recorded in the churchyard of in Icon in Suffolk. So as soon as I walked into the graveyard, a thunderstorm started. So I pointed, the mic to the sky, got the first initial kind of crack and rumble of the thunder, and then the rain came. And this Icon church has a thatched roof, and so all the rain was like trickling down from the thatch. And so I just interacted with that space and recorded as much as I could. So that whole piece is drawn from that, basically.
Wow. And did you play in the space whilst you were there, or were you essentially recording the field recorded sounds of the natural sounds, and then you brought them home and then reacted to them with your performance.
Yeah, exactly that. And I formed the field recordings into a structure as well. And the way I think about how I structure those recordings is, again, kind of forming a narrative in my mind from, you know, a beginning, middle and end of arrival, basically. And that's exactly how the field recording trip evolved, as in, like, I walked through the gate, thunderstorm started, then the rain came, and so I just tracked the piece in exactly that order.
Wow. Well, that would be a lovely thing to hear now. So I'm going to play Sacred Ground by Ruby Colley, and then following up, we'll stay in the world of Rayne and play Here Comes the Rain from Overheard as well. That was Sacred Ground by Ruby Colley and Here Comes the Rain from the album Overheard from 2022. I want to stay on this period of your work, or rather this style of your work, and play some earlier examples from the album Murmurations, which, as you've said, was largely made by yourself with a loop pedal and a violin. I'm really drawn to the beginning, the opening arpeggio of the Baroquess. I think that's a lovely sound that you've managed to produce, and the way that it builds up. what to you is sort of is happening there? I think you're evoking a kind of like an earlier style of music, but treating
Yeah.
it in a modern way. How does that sort of interlinking of temporal strands come about?
Yeah, I mean, the initial idea for that track was literally from the Bach cello suites.
Yeah,
Um,
the best,
and
the best music.
yeah. And so I thought, well, that's in major. I'll just make it minor, and then I'll shorten the loop, and then I'll make my own thing out of it. So and that's why I called it Baroquess. It's very much an homage to Bach.
Yeah, it's a lovely piece, and I thought after that I'd move to the track Cunei and then Orca, all from the same record. But I just think there's lovely stuff on this album that you're doing with arpeggiation, with harmony, and with layering. And I guess it's quite a long time ago now. This came out in 2009.
Yeah, or 2010, I think.
2010, yeah.
Yeah.
That how connected to this material do you still feel, or do you see it as a sort of foundation that you've built upon and sort of moved beyond?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I'm completely disconnecting it from it now.
Right.
But what I'm learning is that all the more time that passes, that people still find my work through that album. It's really interesting, and people really still love it, and Orca got a spin on Night Tracks recently, and I'm always surprised when people discover my work through this album, because personally I left it behind a long time ago, but having said that, I still know and understand that it is a foundational album to how I then made creative decisions with all of my work since. So yeah.
I suppose another thing that I would say in its defense is that it doesn't sound at all sort of dated, or it has a sort of, I can understand why people would be picking up on it now or as they discover it, because it doesn't feel like something which belongs in the margins of 2010. It sort of seems perfectly alive and perfectly sort of present to our current modes of listening. I suppose you've made something that's lasted 15 years and 16 years and beyond.
And that's always really wonderful to hear. And you probably know yourself, like we're never the best judges of our own work anyway. Like I'm not, I can never view my work through a detached or rational lens ever. And it's always nice to be reminded that other people will experience your work in a completely different way, and that's humbling, honestly.
Yes, exactly. I mean, other people will never have, they couldn't possibly have thought and agonized over the minute details of it's like, as a composer, your job is to think about something really a lot, or the most that someone ever will, for this intense period of when you make it, and then you unleash it on the world, and it becomes everyone else's to kind of ignore or pick up on, or pick up and put down, or ride the crest of it into their listening habits, whether that be an awful lot or whether that be partial. But yeah, you're right. Either we're not the best judge of our own catalogues, or everyone else is a terrible judge of our
I mean, both can be true at the same time, I think, and I think, again, it's another reminder that art has its own life.
Yes.
And so when we make it and put it out into the world, it's like a child. It will go off and live its own lifespan beyond you, It's like cave drawings,
Well, speaking of like a child, actually, perhaps we should. I should open this block with another track that of yours that really made an impression on me, and it's "Gotta Get That Bee," which has a lovely title and a lovely little field recording that I'll maybe let you introduce. But if I'm not mistaken, this features your sort of home recordings of your own daughter, doesn't it?
Yeah. So the opening field recording features my daughter, who was, I think, 4 at the time. Yes, and it's an interaction with a trap bee in our beach hut. And I recorded it with my phone, because I wasn't planning to do any field recording that day, but that whole interaction was something I immediately had to capture. And what I love about it is its authenticity, and how even initially you might be able to hear me trying to shush her. and then I realised that this whole moment was something very, very real, and so I let it happen and unfold as it did. And yeah, that's what
the disciplinary instincts override.
Yeah.
And how did she feel about, presumably then later on hearing herself being the sound of her past self being incorporated into the sound of your music?
Mm-hmm. She loves it.
Great.
Yeah, massive ego trip for her.
Yeah, she's your muse. She's the subject. Is she musical as well?
Yeah, she is. She's having singing lessons at the moment. Actually, she's really into opera.
Oh, lovely.
Which is not something I could ever have predicted. But yeah, she's learning Carmen at the moment. Would you believe?
Yeah, well, we all find our own path. I mean,
totally.
A family of early musicians, and I found myself in the sort of world of contemporary experimental music. But it all comes back. I'm writing for lute and recorder and 2 viola da gamba at the moment, so it's it stays in there. It's
absolutely, and I think I always find it very amusing in creative families the way we attempt to rebel when really we don't rebel that much at all.
No, of course not. It's nigh on impossible. I mean, the real way to rebel is to become a lawyer or something.
Exactly, or an accountant.
And we're not going to do that. No. Lovely. Well, I'm going to open this little block of music with "Gotta Get That B," followed by a selection of tracks from Murmurations, and then we will move on to some newer material.
Don't get that B.
Where are you?
I'm not going to touch it. I just want to pick up the
That was a selection of tracks from the album Murmurations by Ruby Colley, who I'm delighted to say is still joining us for a conversation about her music. Ruby, hi.
Hello.
I think we should perhaps move on to the big piece. I'm delighted to have seen live and had the opportunity to listen to a lot, and I've been really happy to see it get the attention that I feel it deserves.
Thank you.
Hello Halo is a work for vocal ensemble and violin and field recordings.
Yeah.
Which was written for Exaudi.
Yeah.
And, well, I saw it performed at King's Place, but I don't believe that was the premiere, correct?
The premiere was at Liverpool Philharmonic. Yeah.
Yes, and then it did a small sort of tour of the UK, correct?
Yeah. So King's Place, Liverpool Phil, and then went on to the Orca Festival.
Great. It's a really substantial work. It's about half an hour long, and it's in 5 movements.
6
movements, sorry. Yes,
Yeah.
there's 2 duets, aren't there? And it's a very complex piece that deals with the central theme of your brother and his non-verbal forms of communication.
Correct, yeah.
I suppose the first question is, how do you find the way to write such a personal piece, which is obviously where the source material and the material itself is so close to you as a person?
Yeah, good question. It wasn't easy, but it came from a feeling of necessity. But it was I tried to be as careful about it as I possibly could, because it wasn't just me, it was Paul and my family all involved. So it kind of, if I'm being honest, it brought up a lot of tricky things and dynamics through the process, but it was carefully trodden and talked about as I went through it. There was a lot of kind of consent needed through each stage. Consent from Paul, consent from my parents. You know, I had to speak to them a lot about it, you know, and what it would involve. And, you know, there were some gnarly moments, I'm not going to lie. But I think at the end of it, we all came out of it knowing that it was absolutely the right thing to do. And it helped us all understand one another so much better.
Yes.
And I think the premieres were the culmination of that understanding, you know, and Paul came and my parents came, and it was like a real kind of a landing moment where we all got it, you know?
Yeah. Yes. So it was sort of a case of trusting the process until it's made flesh.
Yeah, absolutely. And I had to really hold steady throughout that, because I kind of like, I know that this is what I'm supposed to be doing, but at the moment this feels really difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how did you realize which of the avenues of incorporating Paul into the piece were the right ones for his, because there are moments where there are field recordings of his speech and your speech and interactions between the two of you, which are then extrapolated into this vocal composition with mimicry happening on the ensemble that produces these like beautiful tapestries of textures. And I suppose sort of, well, what came first, the field recordings, or then the idea of what to do with them? Or how did you start realizing what you were going to plug back into the process of composition and turn these these scenarios and these relationships into a piece of art?
So similar to Overheard and Underheard is that all of the movements started from the field recordings in their first instance. So they were always the launch pad. Some of it was archival, so, so I spent hours trawling through the archives of film, video, recordings, because, my family have a habit of documenting everything, which is great.
Yeah.
But that was a very long process. But the particular one that I think you're referring to is the What Is It? Movement.
Yes, the opening of What Is It, which is very touching.
So that was from one day of me recording his sessions at Project Artworks, and I just left it running, and from that I understood that whole movement is based around the need to understand Paul, and the communication tools needed in order to build about that understanding between Paul and the people supporting him. And so that felt like a scene setting movement for the rest of the work, basically.
Yeah. And it's funny that movement appears sort of halfway through, doesn't it? It's the
second.
Oh, it's the second movement, isn't it? Yeah. So it's I guess it's that feels like the music or the ideas sort of hitting their full stride, as it were, kind of after the slower pace of the introduction, and the introduction is very introductory in that it opens with the word hello.
Exactly. I mean, I wrote What Is It first, so
yes.
that's I guess how I was thinking about it, and then when I wrote, but the Hello Halo movement was the movement that I had swimming about in my head for years.
Right.
So, because his main word, his totem word, is hello, and has always been thus, even since he was a child.
Yeah.
So it really just made sense to open with that, and it's his way of introducing himself. It's a way of him making himself known in a space. I am here. And with many non-speaking people, their visibility, their advocacy relies on so many other people. But I think a simple word like hello gives Paul so much agency and visibility. And it's a real declaration of himself, I think. Yeah.
And you mentioned that you had that movement swimming around your head for years. What convinced you that this was the time and the project to make it real, and to, I suppose, to expand it then to beyond just the Hello Halo movement and into this 6-movement suite?
I think, well, to make it big was just my mindset of like, go big or go home. If you're going to put yourself through such a personal experience or idea, then do it properly.
Yeah.
And also there's so much complexity and nuance in Paul as a person that I was not prepared to have that level of exposure without fully explaining it properly, and I think that was the real motivation to make it as big as it did, because there was so much to explain, I think. Yeah. Yes,
it must be a real kind of it's a big subject, and not one that can be traversed in just sort of a short 5-minute movement, or looking at only one aspect is only one part or one lens of the story, as it were.
Yeah, and of the breadth and depth of Paul's personhood. It felt really important to me to communicate that with as much detail and respect as possible.
And how much did you learn about Paul in the process, and how much did you learn about yourself, and how much did that change the music that you thought you'd make?
I think that in terms of Paul, I realised that he totally loved the project.
That's very heartwarming to hear, actually. I expected nothing less, but I'm very glad to hear that.
He really did, and especially the process of making the film. And the film is a really good kind of landing page for him, because I can show it to him all the time, and he can immediately understand the time, the place, the subject. You know, oh yeah, this is about me. Great. And I learnt that, yeah, he understands so much more than he's able to communicate.
Yes.
And so, you know, and we kind of all know that, but through making the work, that was, you know, reaffirmed quite heavily. And then, you know, as a result, that obviously informed the work, and it was just a really lovely way of us connecting to each other, you know. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, hugely. Yes, obviously you mentioned that Paul is able to understand so much more than he's able to communicate. The amazing thing about this piece is it somehow, to an outsider, it feels like it manages to communicate something of his inner mind, of his inner existence, which is remarkable to someone who hasn't had that type of contact with someone with in Paul's set of circumstances. How did you feel that at points you might be getting the music close to a sort of representation of Paul's inner life?
I mean, honestly, I didn't know, you know, and it's like what we were talking about earlier, is that you're never a complete rational judge of your own work. You know, the best I could do was to try,
yes.
You know, and have these various, the process of coming up with the ideas took me into so many different places, you know, and in all honesty, there could have been another 6 movements written, you know. So it still felt reductive, really, if I'm being honest.
and maybe one day there will be, you know, in a different context or in a companion piece, that it's not, you know, these ideas are never sort of, just because you've done one thing with it doesn't mean the idea is put to rest, or it's conclusively done. There's always scope in the future.
Absolutely.
But I think that's the amazing thing I think about it is that it's so touching and so personal and clearly so genuine, and is the product of a process which is so sincere and familial and kind of close. It's a window into your life. It's a window into Paul's life. And I suppose as a result, like you said, it's a sort of window into your family life.
Totally,
How, I guess there'll be at points as a composer where you almost need to sort of distance yourself from that kind of that white hot closeness, the sort of the sentimentality, the protectiveness of it, and convert that into a technical process to be able to get the sound of the thing correct. Like, how easy or hard was that in the process of writing the piece?
I think the process had its different kind of timelines, I think. You know, the research part of it was really gnarly. And then the actual technical scoring of it was really exciting, you know. And I worked with a colleague of mine, Lucy Mulgan, who helped me score it as well. And there was an element of handing over something. You know, we worked together on it, and she would kind of sketch out the recordings that I had made, and then we would kind of edit it together. And sharing that with someone was really beneficial, I think. And having someone not connected to the work was really essential for that bit. You know, so she would say, you know, how about we do this? And I could either go, yeah, brilliant, love that, or no, absolutely not. We need to do this instead, kind of thing. And so the key that you'll see in the start of the score was something that we developed together in how to best communicate these very kind of abstract sounds and ideas, and it felt necessary to have that in the beginning.
Yes, that key that you're referring to is immediately talks about the sort of the relative pitched components of vocal sounds, correct? So you've got your spoken sounds, your partial Sprechzimmer, and then your sung sounds, and a kind of gradation between them, and other types of sort of technical ways of laying things out for performers.
Yeah.
And it helps that Exaudia are an amazing vocal ensemble who are, sort of comfortable doing all sorts of things that you throw at them.
Absolutely. And, little kind of inexperienced, nervous me kept kind of like going, oh yeah, but we need to make sure that we can do all of this stuff. And James was like, it's going to be fine. And yeah, lo and behold, it absolutely was. Like within the first rehearsal, I was like, oh, amazing.
Well, he's a real pro in that regard. Like,
oh, total pro. Yeah.
Yeah, and how have you felt the reception of it, or the sort of, I've felt it, from a distance, being very warmly received by an audience. Is that the same for you? And has it felt kind of cathartic to be able to put it out and sort of tour it around and see what people think of it?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, yeah, it's been beautifully received. I mean, obviously, if it hasn't been well received, those people haven't spoken to me about that. So I will never know about those people. But the people who I have spoken to have been really, really moved. And, because for the premieres in Liverpool Phil and King's Place, I did a lot of audience outreach. So I wanted to reach people who would connect to the work as well, people with non-speaking family members, parents, carers, community groups, advocacy groups. I wanted them to be able to experience it and to get their feedback as well. And it just created an opportunity, an opening basically for them to talk to me as well about their experiences. And that was just really vindicating, I think. Yeah. Great.
Yeah. And I imagine it was very well received by those groups and people kind of affected by similar things to what Paul has been affected by.
Yeah. For sure. But I also wanted to make it an inclusive space. One of my MOs for the whole project was to dissolve the boundaries between the relaxed performance space for a certain type of people and the conventional classical performance space that we're all very used to. I wanted it to be a space that we could all come and experience it together, and try and move away from segregation in that sense. But having said that, that's not always entirely possible. So I still had, options basically as well. But I wanted to basically say, this space is for you and it is for everyone, and you are all welcome.
Good. Yeah. No, that's a lovely sentiment. There's a couple of aspects of the piece that I want to maybe sort of ask you about more specifically, and the two duets I think are very beautiful moments. And I was looking through the score and listening the other day, and I was surprised to find how improvised those sections are. That they have this amazing little cueing system where you have field recordings happening, which are, am I right in thinking that they're on a strict kind of playback track, that they'll be happening whatever happens, and then over the top you have these duets between you, a violinist, most likely you, or like in the performances it was you, correct, but it could be performed by another violinist, and one of the vocal ensemble sort of interlinking and interlocking, and the sense of how that improvisation is supposed to feel and communicate. Where was that leading to, or where were you sort of pushing that into?
Well, the rules, I guess, for those two movements were, yes, I had the field recording cues, but what I also did with those field recordings is that I put it through a MIDI patch, and the MIDI itself responded tonally to those field recordings. So that then gave me the key and the melodic cells for each section. So whatever the MIDI ended up producing was the tonal range that we got to work within.
So you have a kind of, I suppose, a tonal or harmonic sensibility informed by the raw field recording, the output of the raw field recording when it's been analysed by some external MIDI.
Yeah, quite.
Yes.
And then the structure of it was then formed through. So the first one then was starting in the same tonal range, exactly the same note, and then gradually drifting away from one another until I reached my highest point and the alto reached her lowest note. So that was dictated by her range as well. So I literally asked, like, what is your lowest note? That's the note we're going to end on.
Yeah.
You know. And conversely, with the duet now, we did it the opposite way. So we both started at our opposite ranges. So the bass singer started on his lowest note, which again was changeable on the day.
Yes.
And then we would slowly move through those cells, those cues, to arrive on the same note to finish.
Which I think denotes a rather lovely musical metaphor. The sort of the synchronizing or the kind of harmonization or the idea of pitch as a form of closeness and tactility.
Yeah, exactly. And the first duet was literally kind of a metaphor for, you know, our childhood to adulthood. So being together and then moving apart, and then, you know, our late adulthood of coming back together again.
Yeah. Which that's a very lovely musical metaphor to build into the structure of a piece. And then the is it the final movement? I'm going to pull this up to remind myself. But there's a wonderful moment. Yes, it's the start of the exactly the start of Cosmology. Which has these sort of beautiful spoken plosives, consonants, and vocal sounds, which start as this sort of percussive deluge that I sort of read as was a sort of form of kind of mimicry of the kinds of sounds that Paul makes, sort of made musical in that fashion.
Yeah, so that was all about kind of duality, almost the duality between a bureaucratic kind of advocacy and raw spiritual experience, I guess. So it was drawn from a drawing that my mum did called The Cosmology of Care, which was basically this a demonstration or visual representation of the care systems around someone like Paul's life. So you would have a combination of all of the governmental and social care organisations, which were then reduced to their acronyms, and there's a lot of acronyms basically, which can get very confusing and very overbearing, which was literally translated into the score basically. They build up and get more chaotic and more kind of and then within that cosmology, you have the elements of a person's life that give it meaning, and like being in wild spaces and being close to the sea, or advocacy, choosing who you spend time with or who to live with, things like that. All of those things that give any of us agency and meaning in our life. And so that movement was about the juxtaposition of those two things.
Oh, wonderful! Yeah, I hadn't realised the front end of that metaphor, but I think that's very clever and a very a very apt way of building up a kind of chaos or a sort of a kind of musical noise, which makes sense in that context.
Totally,
A complex texture from which it's hard to sort of extract singular things or sort of coherent slants, and to then sort of give it the breathing room of the things that we do understand, like the sea or the wilderness or each other, and lovely.
And I guess like I feel like when I was watching my parents try and navigate these systems, it always felt quite changeable and chaotic. And, you know, in me trying to learn about all of them as well, you know, it just got to the point where I didn't know the difference between any of these acronyms anymore. I was like, I literally have no idea what we're going on about anymore. So
yes, so it's conversation with no content.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, it just made sense to translate that quite literally into the movement. Yeah.
Well, I think that's a good place to introduce playing Hello Halo by Ruby Colley.
Hello. Hello.
Mum. 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 Mum.
Hello, Paul.
Hello.
What is it? You're a little bit tired.
What is it?
And what is it?
What is it?
Through the doors.
Through the doors. In, out.
What is it?
It's Ellen. It's Ellen. It's Ellen. It's Ellen. It's Ellen.
George, you miss your granddad.
Home? You want to go home already?
No.
Okay, comes
No.
the sun.
Hop, 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 No, 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 no. Lehiha, ya,
O-P-G C-O-P
D-S-T
E-S-D-L-A
P-H-B-C-H-C
DWP.
D-S-T
A-S-C.
P-H-B-C-H-C D-S-T
DWP.
P-H-B-C-H-C D-S-T P-H-B C-H-C D-S-T P-H-B-C-H-C D-S-T P-H-B C-H-C D-S-T P-H-B-C-H-C D-S-T P-S-B C-H-C-I-C-B
Being able to change your mind. Acting on free will. Being able to change your mind. Acting on free will. Acting on free will.
New dance craze.